You've noticed something. Maybe you've noticed it for months. Maybe it just hit you last week. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. Your friend's marriage exploded because she found someone more aligned with her growth. Your colleague's long-term girlfriend gone after he supported her through school right when she didn't need him anymore. Your own relationship, or the wreckage of what used to be one, where she looked you in the eye and said she loved you, right up until the day you discovered she didn't. And you're starting to ask a question that feels insane to even think. Is female loyalty even real? Or is it just a performance that lasts as long as the conditions are right? Because everywhere you look, you see the same story. Different faces, different circumstances, but the same devastating ending. A man gives everything, time, resources, loyalty, his whole damn identity, and she still leaves. Or worse, she stays physically but leaves emotionally, and you become a ghost in your own home. It's not about what you did wrong, it's about what she's wired to do. When the biology, the opportunity, and the rationalization all align. Let me tell you something that's going to feel brutal. A woman's attraction operates on a dual system. On one level, she's drawn to stability, resources, safety, reliability. The man who can provide, who shows up, who builds a foundation. That's the survival mechanism. But on another level, simultaneously, she's drawn to genetic fitness markers, confidence, status, dominance signals, the appearance of being chosen by other women. That's the reproductive mechanism. And here's the part that breaks men. These two systems don't always point to the same man. This is what psychologists call hypergamy, though she'll never use that word. It's the biological drive to secure the best possible mate, and critically, to trade up when a better option appears. In our evolutionary past, a woman who could secure a higher status male increased her offspring's survival odds. That wiring doesn't disappear just because we have mortgages and marriage licenses now. It runs silently in the background, constantly evaluating, is this still the best I can do? You see it in how her attraction shifts. Not because you changed, but because her perception of your status changed. You got laid off, or you got comfortable, or you stopped being the man other women noticed. And suddenly the way she looks at you transforms. Not dramatically, not with an announcement, just a quiet recalibration of desire. The sex becomes obligatory, the respect fades, the partnership starts feeling like a performance she's tired of maintaining. A man I know experienced this firsthand. 15 years married, 2 kids, built a successful business together. Then his company hit hard times. Not bankruptcy, just a rough 2 years where money got tight and stress got high. His wife, who'd been completely devoted according to everyone who knew them, started staying late at the gym, started mentioning a trainer who really understood her fitness goals. 6 months later, he found the messages. She didn't leave him because he failed. She left him because his status dropped and someone else's rose. That's not cruelty. That's biology operating exactly as designed. And the dual mating strategy, this is where it gets even more devastating. Women are wired to secure commitment from a provider while remaining attracted to genetic fitness signals from other men. It's not conscious. It's not even something she'd admit if you confronted her, but it's why you can give her everything. Security, devotion, stability, and she can still feel drawn to the man who gives her nothing but excitement and emotional chaos. You're the foundation. He's the thrill. And her biology tells her she can have both, or trade one for the other when the opportunity appears. That's why good enough becomes not enough anymore. Not because you stopped being good enough objectively, but because her biology is constantly scanning for better options. And when one appears, someone with higher perceived status, more confidence, better genetic signals, the loyalty mechanism doesn't override it. The loyalty yields to it. A woman doesn't wake up one morning and decide to destroy everything. Betrayal doesn't work like that. It's not a lightning bolt decision. It's a series of small choices, each one barely visible on its own, that compound into infidelity. And those choices only happen when the opportunity window opens. Opportunity is access. It's the co-worker who listens to her complain about you during long projects. It's the old flame who resurfaces on social media with a carefully curated life that looks more exciting than her current reality. It's the neighbour, the personal trainer, the friend's husband who pays attention in a way that feels different from your routine. Access creates possibility, and possibility creates temptation that didn't exist before. But access alone isn't enough. The window opens wider during emotional vulnerability periods, when she's bored with the relationship routine, when she feels unappreciated despite everything you actually do, when she's going through a life transition, new job, postpartum period, approaching 40 and questioning her choices. These windows are when her psychology becomes receptive to alternatives, when another man's attention hits differently than it would have 2 years ago. You've seen this. The friend whose wife had an affair right after their second child was born. Not because he was a bad father or husband, but because she felt invisible, overwhelmed, and someone else made her feel seen again. The colleague whose girlfriend cheated during the 6 months he was travelling for work. Not because she stopped loving him, but because loneliness plus opportunity equals choices she wouldn't have made otherwise. And here's what men need to understand about the "it just happened" lie. It never just happens. It's always a progression. First conversation that goes slightly too personal. First time she mentions him to you, testing how you react. First time she dresses slightly better for a day she knows she'll see him. First time she deletes a message. Each step is a choice, and each choice opens the door wider for the next one. By the time it becomes physical, she's already made 50 micro decisions that led there. But she doesn't frame it that way to herself. She frames it as fate. As connection I couldn't deny. As something missing in our relationship that I found with him. She retroactively constructs a narrative where the betrayal was inevitable, where the universe conspired to bring them together, where she was powerless against forces beyond her control. It's not powerlessness, it's choice disguised as destiny. Because destiny removes responsibility. A friend told me about his wife's affair that started at a work conference. She swore it was unexpected, unplanned, just happened after drinks and deep conversation. But when he went through her phone records, he found weeks of escalating communication before that conference. Weeks of her creating the conditions for it to happen, requesting that particular conference, arranging to stay an extra night. Mentioning to this co-worker she'd be there. The affair didn't happen at the conference. The conference was where the affair she'd been building finally manifested. The opportunity window doesn't excuse anything, but it explains why good women end up making devastating choices. It's not that they're secretly bad people. It's that they're human beings with biological drives and emotional needs. And when access meets vulnerability, meets rationalization, loyalty becomes negotiable. The only women who don't cheat are the ones who either don't have opportunity or don't allow themselves to create it. Character is what you do when you could get away with it. And most people's character is weaker than they believed, until they're tested. This is the part that makes men feel insane, not just the betrayal itself, but the way she suddenly remembers your entire relationship differently. You're sitting there with years of memories, vacations where she smiled, nights where she told you she'd never been happier, moments of genuine connection that felt absolutely real. And she's telling you, I was never really happy. I was settling. I felt trapped for years. What you're experiencing is retroactive narrative reconstruction. It's a psychological process where humans, especially in the context of guilt and self-image protection, literally edit their memories to align with current choices. She's not necessarily lying deliberately. Her brain is rewriting history in real time to make the betrayal feel justified, to transform her from villain to victim in her own story. Here's how it works neurologically. Human memory isn't like a video recording. It's reconstructed every time we access it, and that reconstruction is influenced by our current emotional state and beliefs. When a woman cheats, she experiences massive cognitive dissonance. The gap between I'm a good person and I did a terrible thing. Her brain can't hold both truths comfortably. so it doesn't. It rewrites the first truth to eliminate the contradiction. Those happy memories, they get edited. That vacation where she seemed genuinely in love, she now remembers feeling alone even then. That anniversary where she wrote you a card about how lucky she felt, she was just going through the motions. The brain highlights every moment of frustration, every minor argument, every time she felt even slightly disappointed, and turns them into the dominant narrative. The good times get compressed into, there were some okay moments, but mostly I was unhappy. And she starts finding flaws in you that never bothered her before. You've always been quiet in social situations. She used to call it strong and observant. Now it's emotionally unavailable and embarrassing. You've always been career-focused. She used to say she admired your drive. Now it's, you were never there for me emotionally. You haven't changed. The facts haven't changed, but the interpretation has completely reversed. Because the interpretation now serves a different purpose. You become the villain in her revised history, because she needs you to be. If you were a good partner who loved her faithfully and she still betrayed you, then she's a bad person. But if you were actually neglectful, emotionally distant, or not the man she thought you were, then her betrayal becomes understandable, even justified. You forced her to it. You drove her away. She had no choice. The responsibility shifts from her choices to your failures, and she can sleep at night. I've watched this destroy men who know the truth. One guy I know supported his wife through nursing school, took care of their kids while she studied, celebrated every achievement with genuine pride. She had an affair with a doctor from her hospital 2 years after graduating. When confronted, she told him, and their families and their friends, that he'd been controlling and unsupportive throughout their marriage, that she'd felt stifled and small. People who'd witnessed his actual behaviour were shocked. But she'd convinced herself so thoroughly that she passed a polygraph believing her own revised version. This is the retroactive betrayal that cuts deeper than the physical one. It's not just losing her in the present, it's losing the past you thought you shared. Every memory now carries a question mark. Was she ever really happy? Did she ever actually love you? Were you living in a relationship while she was living in a prison? And the answer is that both were true at different times. But she can now only access the prison version because that's the version that protects her self-image. Men don't do this to the same degree. Male psychology tends toward compartmentalization, not narrative rewriting. A man can cheat and still acknowledge his wife was good to him. He can fail and still remember the happy times accurately. He separates behavior from history. Women integrate behavior into history, then reshape the history to match the behavior. It's not better or worse, it's different. And it's devastating when you're on the receiving end. What breaks men completely isn't just that she rewrites history, it's that she genuinely starts to believe her own revisions. You can show her the messages she sent you 2 years ago professing love. You can replay conversations where she said she'd never been happier. You can present evidence of objective reality, and she'll look at it like ancient artifacts from a person she doesn't remember being. I was lying to myself back then. I was in denial. I didn't know what real love felt like yet. The past becomes a lie she was telling herself, and you're the fool who believed the performance. But here's what you need to understand, and this is crucial. That past was real when it happened. She did love you then, in the way she was capable of loving. She was happy then, in the moments before something shifted. The memories you have aren't false just because she's rewritten them. You weren't crazy, you weren't blind, you were living in reality, and she's now living in revision. Hold on to that distinction. Your memories matter more than her current reinterpretation of them. Male loyalty is historical. You love the woman she was when you met her. You honor the years you built together. You remember how she stood by you during difficult times. Your loyalty is rooted in shared past, in accumulated trust, in the relationship you've constructed brick by brick. You think, we've been through so much together. That has to mean something. Female loyalty is emotional. She's loyal to how she feels right now, to who she's becoming, to the future she can imagine with you versus the future she can imagine without you. The past matters less than the present emotional state. And critically, she's loyal to her own self-expansion, to her sense of growth and becoming. If you represent growth, she stays. If you represent stagnation, she leaves. The 10 years you invested become irrelevant if this year feels stuck. That's the loyalty illusion men discover too late. You think loyalty is something you build through consistent action, through proving yourself reliable year after year. And it is. For men. For women, loyalty is something that exists as long as the emotional conditions sustain it. When the emotional foundation shifts, the loyalty evaporates. Not slowly, almost instantly. And she'll say things like, "I'm not who I was when we met. I've outgrown us. I need to be loyal to my own journey now." You hear that language constantly in female-initiated breakups and divorces. "I need to find myself. I'm not growing in this relationship. I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore." What she's saying is, my emotional state has changed, and loyalty to the past doesn't override loyalty to my current feelings. The relationship you thought was a permanent bond was actually a conditional arrangement that expired when her emotions shifted. This is why vows don't protect you. This is why doing everything right doesn't guarantee anything. This is why you can be the perfect partner by every objective measure and still get blindsided. Because her loyalty was never based on what you did or how well you performed. It was based on how she felt. And feelings are weather patterns, not architecture. They shift based on countless variables you can't control. Her hormones, her life stage, who she's exposed to, what her friends tell her, what narrative she's consuming about empowerment and self-discovery. Men tend to be loyal to who a woman was, while women are loyal to who they feel they're becoming. That difference is where the fracture begins. You see this in age gap relationships that collapse. A 28-year-old woman marries a 40-year-old man. He thinks she'll age into appreciating his stability and maturity more. But at 35, she's discovering a confidence and sexuality he met her before she had. She's not the same person anymore. She's loyal to who she's becoming, not who she was when they met. And who she's becoming doesn't include him. The loyalty he counted on never existed in the form he understood it. You see it in marriages where the woman finds herself after years of motherhood and partnership. She wakes up one day feeling like she's sacrificed her identity for the family. And suddenly the man who was her rock becomes her anchor. He didn't change. The years of partnership didn't change. But her emotional relationship to those years changed. And with it, her loyalty disappeared. She's not betraying the past. She's being loyal to her present, which has decided the past was a cage. The brutal truth men eventually face is this. She's faithful until she's not, and there's no warning system. No amount of communication or couples therapy or date nights builds immunity, because loyalty in her framework isn't something you earn permanently. It's something that exists moment to moment, sustained by feelings that can shift faster than you can adjust to them. A man can go through hell for a woman and expect that to create unshakable loyalty. A woman can go through hell with a man and leave him the moment someone offers her heaven. That's not evil. That's not even necessarily wrong. It's just a fundamentally different relationship to commitment. And men who don't understand this difference build their entire lives on a foundation that was never as solid as they believed. Here's the paradox that destroys good men. Everything you do to build security makes you sexually invisible. Every sacrifice you make to give her a better life moves you further from the man she desired, and closer to the man she relies on. And reliance without desire is the death of attraction. You work the extra hours to afford the house she wanted. You put your dreams on hold to support hers. You become predictable, stable, reliable. All the things she said she needed. And somewhere in that process, you stop being the man she wants and become the man she uses, not maliciously, not consciously, but functionally. You're the infrastructure of her life, not the excitement in it, This is what psychologists observe, but rarely state plainly. Women desire men who trigger emotional variability, uncertainty, excitement, challenge. Stability feels safe, but safe doesn't create arousal. A woman can appreciate your provision intellectually while feeling zero physical attraction to you. She'll say things like, "You're such a good man." Any woman would be lucky to have you. That's the language of respect without desire. That's her telling you she sees your value, but doesn't feel it. And the cruel twist is that while you're busy being the dependable provider, you create space and resources for her to encounter men who aren't. You're working 60-hour weeks. She's at the gym at 10 a.m. feeling energized, attractive, bored. The personal trainer notices. You're managing the finances and home repairs. She's on a work trip feeling independent and unencumbered. The colleague notices. You're building the life that allows her the freedom to explore options. You're too busy providing to compete with. She starts resenting the very things she demanded from you. You're working too much, even though she wanted the lifestyle your work provides. You're too predictable, even though she said she needed stability. You're not spontaneous, even though spontaneity requires the financial margin your sacrifice eliminated. You've become the villain for doing exactly what she asked, because what she asked for and what she's attracted to were never the same thing. I know a man who worked his way into a 6-figure income over 10 years of marriage, paid off her student loans, bought her the dream house, funded her passion projects that never made money. She was free to be creative and self-actualized because he handled everything practical. 2 years after they achieved everything she said she wanted, she had an affair with an artist who lived in a studio apartment and couldn't hold a job. When he asked why, she said, "He makes me feel alive in a way you never did." That's the provider trap. You make her life comfortable, and comfort is the enemy of passion. You become her safety net, and nobody fantasizes about safety nets. Other men benefit from the security you created because they can offer her excitement without responsibility. They get her desire, you get her dependency, and in the female psychology of attraction, dependency without desire leads to contempt. You see this in dead bedroom marriages everywhere. The husband who does everything right, earns well, helps with kids, stays faithful, tries to communicate. The wife who loves him like a brother, respects him as a partner, but hasn't initiated sex in 3 years. He's confused because he's doing everything the marriage counselors say to do. He doesn't understand that he's optimized for partnership, while eliminating the tension and uncertainty that created attraction in the first place. And here's what devastates men most. You can't win this game by playing it better. Providing more doesn't create more loyalty. It creates more opportunity for her to explore options while you're busy securing the foundation. You become the man she can't leave because of lifestyle, kids, social pressure, but doesn't want to stay with because attraction died while you were building. You're trapped maintaining a relationship where you're essential, but undesired. The men who don't fall into this trap are the ones who maintain independence within partnership, who build their own lives so fully that her presence is an addition, not the center, who create variability and uncertainty even in long relationships, who somehow avoid becoming the predictable constant she stops seeing. But that's a razor's edge to walk, and most men don't even know there's a trap until they're already in it. Watching her come alive with someone who gave her nothing except the thing you couldn't. The feeling of desire. There's a moment every betrayed man remembers with perfect clarity. The moment the evidence became undeniable. Maybe it was the phone notification that flashed while she was in the shower. Maybe it was the inconsistency in her story that finally made you check. Maybe she just told you, crying, expecting you to comfort her through her guilt. However it happened, that moment fractures something deeper than the relationship. Your body knows before your mind accepts it. Physically, you feel like someone kicked you in the stomach. You can't breathe correctly. Your chest tightens. Some men vomit. Some men's hands shake for hours. It's not metaphorical pain. It's your nervous system responding to a threat it recognizes as survival level. Your brain is processing that the person you trusted most in the world just became the person who hurt you most in the world. That kind of betrayal doesn't compute logically. It has to be processed physically. But the physical pain passes. The deeper devastation is psychological. You're not just losing her, you're losing your understanding of reality itself. Every memory is now suspect. Every "I love you" might have been said while she was texting someone else. Every time she said she was working late, every girl's trip, every moment she pulled away from your touch. All of it gets recontextualized into potential lies. You're not grieving one relationship. You're grieving the past, present, and future simultaneously. The past you thought you shared is now fiction. The present you're living in is a nightmare. The future you were building together has been erased, and somehow you're supposed to function. Go to work, talk to people, pretend you're okay, while your entire sense of reality has collapsed. It's trauma, not the overused pop psychology version of the word. Actual trauma. The betrayal of attachment by the person who was supposed to be your secure base. And here's what makes it worse. She gets support. Friends rally around her. You deserve to be happy. You have to follow your heart. He wasn't meeting your needs. She's comforted for the decision that destroyed you. Meanwhile, if you show anger, which is the most natural response to betrayal, you're toxic. You're controlling. You're the reason she needed to find happiness elsewhere. Your devastation gets reframed as your failure. You're isolated in your pain. You can't talk about it without being judged. You're supposed to move on quickly, to be rational, to take the high road. But nobody tells you how to do that when you can't sleep, can't eat, can't focus, can't stop replaying every moment wondering what was real. Nobody tells you that grief feels like you're dying, but you don't get permission to actually stop functioning. Life just continues, and you're supposed to continue with it, carrying this thing that weighs more than you can hold. A man I know discovered his wife's year-long affair through a mutual friend who thought he already knew. He said the worst part wasn't the affair itself. It was the next 6 months where he had to see her every day for custody exchanges. Watch her be happy with the other man while he was still processing that his entire adult life had been a lie. She moved on immediately. He couldn't move at all. And everyone kept telling him, "At least you know now. At least you can heal." As if knowledge and healing were the same thing. The discovery doesn't just hurt, it changes you at a fundamental level. You'll never trust the same way again. You'll never believe "I love you" without a small voice asking if it's true. You'll never fully relax into vulnerability because you know exactly what it feels like when that vulnerability gets weaponized. Some men call this bitterness. It's not, it's adaptation. It's your psyche protecting itself from ever experiencing that level of devastation again. I want to know, when you discovered the truth, or if you're discovering it now, what broke you more? The physical betrayal, or realizing she could look you in the eye and lie so easily? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. After the initial devastation fades into chronic ache, something else emerges. You start seeing it everywhere. Not because you're looking for it, but because once you know what to look for, the pattern becomes obvious. Your married colleague who just filed for divorce. Same story. She had an affair, rewrote their history, told everyone he was emotionally unavailable, even though anyone who knew them saw him bend over backward for years. Your brother's ex-girlfriend who left him right after he paid for her career certification. Same story. She needed to find herself, and found herself with someone who contributed nothing to her growth. Your father's second marriage that ended the same way his first one did. 2 decades apart. Different woman. Identical arc. You start noticing it in online forums, in men's spaces where guys feel safe enough to tell the truth. Thousands of men sharing variations of the exact same experience. The faithful woman who wasn't. The happy marriage that was quietly dying. The betrayal that came out of nowhere, but was actually telegraphed for months in signs he didn't know to read. Different details. Same fundamental story. This is the red pill moment people talk about, though that term has been poisoned by misuse. It's not about hating women. It's about seeing female nature clearly, without the romantic filter. It's recognizing that loyalty is circumstantial, attraction is biological, and the narrative you were sold about how relationships work was incomplete at best, deliberately misleading at worst. Men don't talk about this openly because the social cost is too high. Say these things publicly and you're labeled bitter, misogynistic, unable to accept responsibility. But in private conversations, in late-night discussions, in the spaces where men feel safe being honest, this is the knowledge that gets shared, the pattern recognition that transforms individual failure into collective awareness. And once you see the pattern, you realize it wasn't your failure. You were playing a game where the rules were hidden, where the goalposts moved based on her emotions, where loyalty was promised but never guaranteed. You didn't fail at keeping her faithful. You failed to understand that her faithfulness was always conditional, on variables you couldn't control. This realization shifts everything. You move from "what did I do wrong" to "what was I never told?" You move from shame to clarity. You start seeing relationships as they are, instead of as you were taught they should be. Some men become cynical here, some become more strategic. Some step away from relationships entirely. But all of them become impossible to fool the same way twice. The pattern reveals itself in subtle ways too. How women talk about their relationships versus how they talk about the men they're attracted to. How "my boyfriend is so good to me and I'm so attracted to him" are rarely said about the same man. How the stable choice and the exciting choice are different people, and which one she commits to depends on her age, life stage, and options. You notice how women in their 20s chase excitement and ignore stability. How women in their 30s suddenly prioritize what they dismissed a decade earlier. How the men they rejected when young become appealing when their own options narrow. How attraction follows a biological script that has nothing to do with fairness or morality, or what anyone deserves. You see your own past relationship through this lens. Every time she said you were too nice, every time she seemed more interested after you were unavailable than when you were present, every time she picked a fight seemingly out of nowhere, because comfort had become boring. You weren't crazy. You were witnessing biological programming that nobody explained to you. And once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. But here's what most men don't realize about that moment. It's not the end of your ability to love or trust or build something meaningful. It's the death of your naivety. And naivety isn't something worth preserving. It's the thing that set you up to be devastated in the first place. Betrayal, when you let it, doesn't just break you. It rebuilds you. Not in the toxic way where you become bitter and closed, but in the powerful way where you become clear and unshakable, where you understand reality without romance, where you see people as they are instead of who you need them to be, where your worth stops being determined by someone else's choices. This is the resurrection that betrayed men don't expect. You think the devastation is the end. It's not. It's the forced awakening you needed, but would never have chosen, because comfortable men don't change. Comfortable men stay in relationships that slowly kill them, because the pain of change feels worse than the pain of stagnation. Betrayal removes that option. It forces you into transformation, whether you're ready or not. The first stage is the clarity. You start seeing your own patterns, how you ignored red flags because you were invested, how you negotiated with your own intuition, how you made yourself smaller to keep peace, how you prioritized her emotional state over your own well-being, how you confused sacrifice with love. The betrayal reveals not just who she was, but who you were when you allowed it. Then comes the identity reconstruction. You have to figure out who you are when you're not in relationship to her. Most men realize they'd merged their identity so completely with the partnership that they stopped existing as individuals. Your hobbies disappeared. Your friendships faded. Your goals got absorbed into shared goals that were really her goals. You became a supporting character in her story. The betrayal, devastating as it is, gives you permission to become the main character of your own life again. you start rebuilding from foundation. You hit the gym not to make her jealous, but because discipline feels like control when everything else is chaos. You focus on work not to prove your worth, but because achievement is something you can actually influence. You reconnect with friends not to fill the void, but because you remember you had a life before her that felt full. Each piece you rebuild makes you stronger than you were when she had the power to destroy you. And something unexpected happens. The more you rebuild yourself, the more you attract what you were chasing before. Women notice. Opportunities appear, but they feel different now. Because you feel different. You're not seeking validation. You're not trying to prove your worth. You're simply existing as a man who knows his value. And that energy is magnetic in a way desperation never was. The men who go through this transformation become unrecognizable, not because they're jaded or closed off, but because they're grounded in a way they never were before. They have boundaries that aren't negotiable. They have standards that aren't flexible based on attraction. They can walk away from situations that don't serve them without second guessing. They've been through the worst case scenario, survived it, and realized they're stronger than they thought. A friend of mine went through this exact arc. His fiancée cheated 3 months before the wedding. He was destroyed, couldn't function for months. Then one day something shifted. He cancelled the pity party he'd been throwing himself and started building, got in the best shape of his life, started the business he'd been talking about for years, travelled to places he'd always wanted to see. 2 years later, I barely recognised him, not physically, though that changed too, but in how he moved through the world, confident, calm, unshaken. He told me something that stuck. The betrayal showed me I'd been living half a life. I'd given her the power to determine my worth, my happiness, my entire emotional state. When she took that away, I was forced to find it in myself. And what I found was so much stronger than what I'd given her. That's the resurrection. You become unbetrayable, not because you don't trust anyone, but because your sense of self isn't dependent on anyone. You learn to trust selectively, wisely, with eyes open. You build a life so solid that if someone leaves, they leave, but they don't take you with them. Your foundation stays intact. Your identity stays whole. Your peace stays protected. And here's the part that breaks the cycle. Betrayed men who heal correctly become impossible to betray the same way twice. They recognize the patterns earlier. They don't ignore red flags for comfort. They don't negotiate with their intuition. They don't sacrifice their peace to maintain a relationship. They understand that being alone is better than being slowly destroyed by someone who pretends to love you. Some men reach this point and choose solitude, not bitterly, but contentedly. They realize that peace is more valuable than partnership, that independence is more fulfilling than interdependence with the wrong person. Other men reach this point and find healthy relationships, because they're no longer attractive to toxic ones. When you're grounded, you repel chaos. When you know your worth, you don't accept disrespect. When you have options, you don't cling to situations that drain you. The betrayal that broke you becomes the catalyst that freed you. The woman who destroyed your world becomes the teacher who showed you who not to be and what not to accept. The devastation becomes the training, and the man who emerges from that fire is someone who couldn't exist without it. Female infidelity isn't a bug in the system, it's a feature. It's biology meeting opportunity meeting rationalization. It's evolutionary wiring plus modern circumstances plus the psychological flexibility to rewrite history until betrayal feels justified. You can't make someone loyal who doesn't choose loyalty in every moment. And you can't control the variables that determine whether she chooses it or not. This isn't about hating women or writing off relationships. It's about understanding reality without the fairy tale filter. Some women are loyal their entire lives. Some men are unfaithful monsters. But the pattern exists, and denying it because it feels uncomfortable doesn't make you enlightened. It makes you vulnerable to repeating the devastation. What you do with this knowledge is what matters. You can become bitter, closed off, using it as justification to hurt people before they hurt you. That's not wisdom. That's just repackaged pain. Or you can become clear, strategic, self-possessed, building a life where your worth isn't determined by anyone's validation, where your peace isn't dependent on anyone's choices, where betrayal hurts but doesn't destroy because you're no longer destructible. Your worth was never determined by her faithfulness. Your value doesn't decrease because she chose poorly. Your future isn't limited because your past contained betrayal. You are not what happened to you. You're what you build from what happened to you. And men who build from betrayal become architecture that storms can't touch. Move forward with your eyes open, but your heart protected. Date strategically or don't date at all until you're healed. Build friendships with men who understand these truths. Create a life so fulfilling that partnership becomes optional instead of necessary. Make yourself unforgettable not through what you provide, but through who you become. Become disciplined. Become focused. Become selective about where you invest your energy and who gets access to your peace. And understand this. The woman who betrayed you is suffering her own consequences, even if you can't see them. She traded loyalty for excitement, stability for novelty, something real for something temporary. The man she chose over you isn't better. He's just different in a way that triggered her biology in that moment. Eventually, that trigger fades. Eventually, she'll be with someone wondering if she made the right choice. Eventually, she'll realize what she lost. But by then, you'll be so far beyond her that her regret won't even register. Some of you reading this are in the devastation stage right now. You're barely holding it together. You can't imagine feeling normal again. I'm telling you from the other side. You will not only survive this, you will emerge more powerful than you've ever been. Every man I know who went through real betrayal and processed it correctly became unstoppable afterward. The fire that burns away delusion reveals strength you didn't know you had. Share this with men who need to hear it. Share it with your friends who are going through the devastation and can't see past it yet. Share it with the men in your life who are ignoring red flags because they're afraid of being alone. This isn't bitterness. This is truth. And truth is the foundation of every powerful man's life. The relationship that broke you doesn't define you. The woman who betrayed you doesn't determine your value. The devastation you survived doesn't predict your future. You are being rebuilt into something stronger right now. Trust the process. Protect your peace. Build yourself until the idea of being destroyed by someone else's choices feels impossible. That's how you win. Not by making her regret it, not by proving she was wrong, but by becoming a man so complete, so grounded, so at peace, that her betrayal becomes the best thing that ever happened to you. Because it woke you up. It forced you to evolve. It made you impossible to break. And once you're that man, once you stand firmly in who you are with zero need for external validation, betrayal will never touch you again, not because you won't trust anyone, but because you'll trust yourself more than you trust anyone else. And that self-trust is the only loyalty that truly matters.